So hey guys, today we are at Britain's Strongest Man. This is D-Day. I've been training months for this. I come back from World's Strongest Man, I f***ed my hip. So it's took me 7 months to get it right and we're here today. As you can see, I am fully set up. I am away out of the athlete area. I like to separate myself. It sort of helps me zone out and also gets in their heads a little bit as well. Got my own physio with me. Got all my setup, got every piece of kit you can think of. I've got my own oxygen machine. I've got my own buffer. My own fan, my #1 fan by the way, never lets me down. Even an electromagnet machine to sort of energize the blood cells. You know, probably got about 4, 5, 6 grams of kit around me. But this is all, you know, this is essential for me. It's nice to get here early, let the crowd build up instead of walking into a 10,000 strong crowd. You know, let everything build up. And, you know, it gets me acquainted with the area as well, the air, the temperatures. I'm looking forward to getting stuck in. There are 6 events today. We've got log press, a log press ladder for the first event, which, you know, I should win. And then that should put me last out on the deadlift, which is weirdly my biggest fear because of my hip. So hopefully I can go last on the deadlift and just know what just to do, or know what just to do just to come second, or you know, just enough to get enough points and not kill myself. We've got loading, we've got yoke. Those 2 events are going to be hit and miss again, but as long as I stay in the top 3 on every event, I should be all right. Then we've got a forward hold, my event, and then stones. So it's a jam-packed day. It's going to be about 9,000-10,000 people here, all my family here, and hope you guys enjoy. Hope you learn what I have to do to sort of prep. I'm going to be doing, the show starts at 5, so I'm going to start getting my back warmed up, get my physio to get the tiger balm on my back, get the muscles flushed. I will then do all my mobility drills, stretching, get my body ready for the 5 o'clock start. That's pretty much it. So enjoy the show. Anybody else got a lockout problem? Or yeah, you're right on that. So event 1, the log press. This was an event that historically for me goes very well. You know, I'm very strong overhead presser. Training went pretty good for this. You know, in training I was doing 120, doing the ladder, up to 190 to 200 kilo. I knew I was comfortable to do all 5 logs if I had to. I think the fastest time to 4 logs was Graham Hicks. He did 4 logs in 38.5 seconds. I went out, I asked the referee, you know, I was like, so how many logs have I got to do? 4. And what time did Graham do? 38.5. So I was like, right. So I'm going to smash out 4 logs as quick as I possibly can so I don't have to do the 5th log. And then, you know, so I basically asked the referees to time that. So, and then to point to me, give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down. And I went out, absolutely smashed it. You know, I did 120 right up to 180 in 31 seconds, I think it was in the end. So I beat Graham by 7 seconds, which is a good margin. This is the thing about these shows, you should not ever showboat. It's about being precise. You know, you've got to conserve your energy for every event and do as least as possible with gaining the most points at the same time. So that's exactly what I did.
Precision, trying to be as efficient as he possibly can.
So event number 2 was the deadlift, and it was a side handle car/truck deadlift. For me, side handle deadlifts, I never ever train side handle. I never train any variation of deadlift other than deadlifting. But because of this show, because of the injury I had before the show, I had to do some deadlifting in training. So the week before the show, I actually got a deadlift frame out with side handles, put a car in, added extra weight, and I tried to replicate it. I got it wrong. You know, the weights in training were so heavy I could only manage 2 or 3 reps. And I was told that it was going to be around 450 kilos plus in the hands on the day, and that was not the case. It was nowhere near that. You know, it was more like 360, maybe 370, thereabouts. Ended up being a clash for fitness rather than strength, which wasn't what I hoped for. But because I was in such a good position, because I won the log press, on strongman rules, if you win the last event, you go out last on the next event. And that's why it's important to keep ahead, as far ahead on every event as you can. Even if you feel as though you don't need the points, you should always basically go all out until you know you are safe. So I went out last. I knew all I had to do was 15 reps, and that's exactly what I did. My mistake, I put my belt on too loose. On the second rep of the deadlift, the belt popped off, and fuck me, did that make a difference. I thought I was going to break my fucking spine. I think after the second rep, I didn't open my eyes until I'd done 15 reps. My eyes were shut. I didn't even look at the referee. I was just zoning out the pain on my back. But I got it done. I did the 15 reps. I did 14 reps in about 35 seconds. Took a long, nice break just so I could solidify that last rep. I didn't want to be the guy that did 15 reps straight away, failed the 15th rep, and then, the referee's shouting at you 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, nothing left in the tank. So the plan was do as much as I can, which was 14 reps, and then I took my time. I made sure I got that last rep. I had 25 seconds to do 1 rep, so I took my time and I got that nailed off. Won the event, which again put me out last on the next event, which is what I needed. Crucial, especially in the early stages of the contest. It all went to plan, really. I mean, bar the belt popping off, it all went to plan. It just made it a lot more painful than it should have. So event number 3 was the yoke. Now, the yoke is something I had real trouble with in training. I just could not get the speed up in training at all. My hip just wouldn't allow me to move fast. I felt myself swaying left and right, really struggling with the power in my right leg. My left leg was doing all the work. And on the day, because of the deadlift, I really put my body through hell doing the deadlift, really put my back in a very dangerous position. And it showed on the yoke. Towards the end of the yoke, I just couldn't put up with the pain anymore. I dropped it probably 2 meters shy of the finish line, and then in order to finish it without losing too much time, and also I didn't want to get penalized for dragging. If you drag the yoke, the referee was taking 2 seconds off your time. So I did one massive last spring for the finish line, and it was all on my right leg. One massive smash down, pick it up, threw it over the line, and fuck me, my hip felt as though it came out my back. I was in so much pain, and it just wasn't what I needed. I came second on the event. Graham just pipped me, and to be honest, I was very happy with that, because I got in my head I was going to come mid-range on the yoke, gauging it off training. So to come second on an event that's gone so poorly in training was a massive thumbs up for me. Put me in a really, really good position to finish off the contest. I was, very high up on the points, so it paid off dividends, really. It was very lucky, and the hip set on fire after that. I thought I was going to have to pull out the contest, but I got backstage, the physio just sat me down, shake the legs off a bit, and you know what, it felt okay. By no means, I think any lesser a man would have packed his bags and gone home, but pain is just pain to me. I can go through pain. It's only the only time I will stop is if my leg fell off. Other than that, I'm going to make it to that finish line. Event number 4 was the loading medley. Now, this is something that in training went very well. I started off probably 3-4 months before the contest training for it, and I was so slow and sluggish it was untrue. So I really got my arse into gear the month prior to the Britons, really worked on my fitness, my mobility, and it paid off massively. The barrels weren't a problem. I picked them up, threw them in, no problem whatsoever. Felt very light, felt very comfortable. The first sandbag, lifted it up like it was a feather, threw it in, and then the second sandbag, I picked it up and it fell out my hands, and then it was like a fucking jellyfish on the floor. It just planted itself. I couldn't get under it. So I reckon that cost me at least 3.5, maybe 5 seconds in total dropping the sandbag. And it was no error of my own. I think the sandbag was just so heavily weighted on one side, and that they just fall like that sometimes. You know what, I did check the sandbags before I set off, but I didn't check them thoroughly enough. You know, I picked them up, I give them a kick to try and even out the weight, but it was still very heavy on one side. I should have picked it up, I should have shook it around a little bit, but at the same time, I want to conserve energy for the actual event. You know, I don't want to be picking up 120 kilo sandbags before the event, wasting energy. So what I should have done is got one of my training partners or my coach there to just come out and you know, pick the sandbag up, slam it back down, even it out a bit. I wish I'd done that, but you make mistakes. Made it up. I obviously did that last sandbag. Me and Graham Hicks were neck and neck, and then I ran back for the tyre, and I don't know how, but I picked the tyre up, and when I put my hands into the tyre, I picked the entire tyre up on my thumb, and my thumb bent back all the way back to touch my wrist. Anyway, I finished the event, just picked Graham Hicks to the win. Real shame, because I fumbled the fourth sandbag. I should have won the event. You know, I was fit, mobile, strong, and just a simple mistake cost me probably 4 or 5 points in total. So it didn't allow me to get away from Graham, which is what I wanted on that. But at that point, I should have got away from Graham on that event. Should have beaten by 3 or 4 places. It would have put me in a much better position for the last couple of the events. But that's the way it is. I got backstage after loading. I found my thumb touching my wrist. I snapped it back. No strength in it whatsoever. Very little movement. So, but luckily the next 2 events was the forward hold and the stone, so no thumb involved. So, you know, a thumb's a thumb. You don't need one for these events. I just took another painkiller and off I went. So the 5th event was forward hold, and this is where you hold out 30 kilos for as long as you can. Now, before this event, after the loading event, I noticed that my left bicep went very severely tight. I can't remember the left or right, one of them. But I did this in the loading because I'm so aggressive with my pickups, you know, the barrels and the sandbags. I don't lap it and then pull it in. I just pull it straight to my chest and off I go. It's quick, and that's where you gain the time on everybody else, but it's also very dangerous because you're putting so much weight on those little assistance muscles. You know, end of the day, 120 kilo from the floor to your chest in a very awkward sort of jellyfish sandbag apparatus is not good for you, you know. So that was a very dangerous move on my behalf, but it paid off somewhat. Going into the forward hold, I had obviously a dislocated thumb, a fucked bicep, and a fucked hip, and I was up to the eyeballs with painkillers and whatever else, and I did the forward hold, and I tell you what, I was so fucked and out of breath and just in so much pain from the previous events. I don't know how I stood there for a minute. I really don't, because I honestly, after about 30 seconds, everything was on fire. My bicep, my thumb, my hip. I just want to go fucking home. I just want to go fucking home. But you know what? And this is where I knew I was going to make that final leap to stay in front of Graham. So I made sure I did it as long as I could. My body just wouldn't let me go past that minute mark. I think I got 59 seconds in the end. A guy called Paul Smith beat me. which, you know, that I'm unbeatable on those events. Nobody can touch me on those sort of static hold events. So that was very disappointing for me to lose a point, but that's the way it is. And I did my best, and it put me in good stead for the last event. So I think at this point I was 4.5, maybe 5 points in the lead. So I was in a good position going into the last event, and that's just what I needed. It's horrible going into the last event under pressure. So the last event of Britain's Strongest Man was the notorious Atlas stones. Now these are heavy. It was 100 kilo up to 200 kilo. Now these are fucking heavy stones, you know, even by world standard. So, you know, we're not talking, you know, 10 years ago, world's strongest man would only do up to 160, 180 kilo stone at most. So to do a 200 kilo stone at the end of a contest after 5 events was very tough. And getting ready for that, you know, like I said, for the forward hold event, I was in so much pain. Everything was hanging. My head had just had enough. I just wanted to go home. Just physically and mentally drained at this point. But, you know, there's no way I was going home. No way on earth I was going to walk away and let another man take that British title. So I got my Atlas stone sleeves on. I got the right tacky. I had a thermometer backstage, so I could check what tacky needed to be used according to the temperature of the arena, which I kept out in the arena to acclimatise. I then got the tacky on. When I got the tacky on, I was waiting around. I then noticed the tacky started to melt a little bit, go a bit too runny, which was very worrying. Made me think I got the wrong tacky on, you know, according to the temperature. But, you know, I'm very to the dot, to the book. You know, whatever I choose, I stick to it. So I kept the tacky on, and what I did to rectify it is I keep a fan with me, and this is very lucky that I did. It was not only to keep me cool, but the fan also kept the tacky cool. It stopped the tacky from melting, which is very important. End of the day, if that tacky turns to sludge, you grip onto that stone, you're just going to slip off. It's like you've got Vaseline on your arms rather than glue. The plan was to just smash all 5 stones up, not take any chances. Obviously I had a quite comfortable lead at this point anyway, but I think the only way I could have lost the title is if Graham Hicks won the event and I came 6th, which is very, very unlikely, but you never know, you know, and this is the thing with strongman, you can never be complacent. And that's one thing I've learned over the years. Never, ever, ever underestimate your opponent, because they can pull anything out the bag. And the Atlas stones almost proved it to me. You know, I put 5 stones up comfortably fast, you know, not as fast as I've done in the past. And this was down to my hip. You know, I'd only trained Atlas stones twice before the Britons because of my hip. I couldn't train it any more than that. And Graham was right on the tail. You know, I was putting those stones up, and as soon as mine was landing in the hole, stone was Graham's. Second one, third one, fourth one. And it's only because I'm so strong in my lower back that I just slapped my arms around that 5th stone. I didn't need to lap it. I just one motioned it on, slammed it up there. That solidified the title. And, you know, I had a fucking whale of a time celebrating with the crowd. And it was the most satisfying of all my British title wins. You know, up until that point, winning the Worlds, the winning the World's Strongest Man is the most amazing title you can own. You know, there's no accolade out there that is comparable. But for me, at that moment in time, winning that 5th title after all the after having that huge injury with my hip, I honestly thought I wasn't going to walk again, let alone compete. So for me to win Britain's Strongest Man 6 months after dislocating my hip was a big fucking deal to me. Just to me, maybe not to anyone else. No one else quite understood the severity of my injury. You know, everyone's just thinking, oh, Eddie's looking good, he's looking strong. You know, I didn't let anyone know I was injured. And that's the thing. I don't want to give the athletes that competitive edge thinking, oh, I heard Eddie Hall's himself in training a few months back. You know, he's not going to be very good. If you give them that edge, they're going to train that little bit harder, come into the competition that little bit more relaxed, and you don't want to give them that edge. You want to make them as worried as they possibly can. You want them to have sleepless nights. You want them to be shitting themselves and not eating the weeks before the contest. You want them to be in training thinking, what's the fucking point if Eddie's turning up? That's what I want them to be thinking. I don't want them to be thinking, oh, Eddie's so I can fucking nail this. So that's a very important thing. The mental attack of a contest is exactly that. You know, you can't go into a contest thinking about bunnies and flowers. You know, you've got to go into a contest thinking, I'm going to go and the shit out of everybody there. And that's exactly what it did. I went and dominated.
I've always said that I want to be that guy who's a role model to his kids. And I'm proving now to everybody that hard work and dedication can pay off. Doesn't matter what background you come from, doesn't matter who you are, work hard, keep your head down, and you can achieve amazing things.
Those are incredible words, Eddie Hall. You are a warrior. You are a champion, a winner, a striver. You are victorious. You are a conqueror of many things. Everyone here is so proud of you, and especially for your mission in life to change young people's lives and be winners like you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody here. Really appreciate the fans, especially everyone on TV. Thank you very much.
An injury 7 months ago, dislocated my hip, and the journey to this has been horrendous, more mentally than anything. All the pressure's on me to win it, and obviously with the injury I've had, it's been a horrendous lead up. So to pull it off quite comfortably, I wouldn't say too comfortably, is a miracle, because, you know, 2 months ago I couldn't even deadlift 200 kilo. So this is quite a, you know, it's good, very good.
We can see the pain on your face out there. This is real today, isn't it? I mean, when you said you weren't 100%, you weren't, were you?
No, I would say, I don't go out and try and dislocate your hip, but if anyone has dislocated their hip, they know what I've been through, and it has been, you know, I was in a wheelchair for a week. The recovery was horrendous. So, you know, I'm very lucky to be standing, yet alone winning Britain's Strongest Man.
Did you feel any of that beforehand? Was that a psychological thing?
Yeah, I don't want the competitors knowing that, you know, I've crippled myself a few months back. It gives them the edge mentally. So, you know, it was obvious I had an injury, because I've been limping around the place and people have been talking, but nobody knew the extent. So as you can see, I won my 5th title. It was not easy. Obviously the injury has hindered me a lot. My hip was on fire halfway through. I've dislocated my thumb as well, which was a load of fun. But overall I'm happy. You know, I won my 5th title, I'm not going to say comfortably, but fairly easily. Not as comfortably as I wanted to. Thanks, Graham. But overall it's a good result. Everything sort of went to plan. It all went pear-shaped when my belt popped off on the deadlift, and then my hip opened up, but still managed to win it. So I'm happy, and I will talk more through the events when I get back home. So thanks for watching. Any more videos you want to see, let me know. Have a look through. Anything's missing, just let me know and I'll put it up. Any questions, hit me up in the forum. Thanks for watching, guys. 5 times Britain's Strongest Man. Be awesome.